Thank you, everyone, for joining me today for this special edition of Service After Albright. I am joined by Tony today, and he's going to be talking with us about a fellowship program with an organization that works in the United States to end hunger. So, Tony, can you tell us more about you and what you do?
Sure. My name is Tony Jackson. I am the brand new director of the Emerson National Hunger Fellowship Program for the Congressional Hunger Center. The Hunger Center is a nonprofit organization that has a footprint in the anti-hunger, anti-poverty space. And so, what I do for the program is I oversee their domestic fellowship program. So, the Hunger Center has a program for pretty much it's post-college graduates who want to work in the anti-hunger, anti-poverty space. And so as part of that, I oversee helping to place the fellows with different anti-hunger, anti-poverty organizations throughout the United States, and then also here in Washington, D.C. And this year, we have 19 fellows participating in the program.
That's really cool. So, now what would fellows in your program get to do?
So it's an 11-month program. And so the fellows get trained in anti-poverty, anti-hunger policy. They also get leadership training because part of what we do is train the next generation of leaders in the space. And so they get that training along with, as I said, the a background in anti-hunger, anti-poverty policy. And then the program, if you can kind of think of it as broken into kind of two parts. So right now, the fellows are with their field organizations, their field sites. And so the field sites are located throughout different states in the United States. And these are usually community-based organizations. So right now we have fellows, well, technically, most of the 19, 17 are working virtually, but in a non-COVID world, they would be placed with these organizations. So we have fellows that are working with organizations in Massachusetts, Texas, Alabama, Arkansas, California, Oregon, Washington, and Illinois. And what they're doing right now is they're working on different projects that these community-based organizations have in the anti-hunger, anti-poverty space. So they'll do that from September until February of next year. And then in February of next year, they get to work with national policy organizations here in Washington, D.C. And again, in a non-COVID world, they would actually come to Washington, D.C. And we're still working through how that's going to work. But these organizations here work on the national policy anti-hunger in the national anti-hunger, anti-poverty space, mainly working a lot with Congress. So these organizations would be like Feeding America. Where else do we? So we're going to have fellows probably placed at the Center for Budget and Policy Priorities, the Food Research and Action Center, that's FRAC, and a number of organizations. And again, here they would work on kind of national policy, different national policy program or projects. So a typical what they will be doing is they'll be doing qualitative and quantitative research. They would also work in the advocacy space, and we have fellows that are also working on communications projects.
Wow. So it's really multifaceted. Like there's a lot of different things you can do.
Yeah, there are a lot of different things you can do within the fellowship program, and we try to match fellows based on what their preferences are. So if we have a fellow that's really interested in doing like quantitative research, we will look to match that fellow with a particular program, or excuse me, project that really has that focus.
That's really great. And it's really heartwarming to be able to, you know, make a change on a community level and then build on that to see like a big national impact as well.
Yeah, you're exactly right. We like to think of ourselves as a bridge between the community-based organizations and then the national organizations, because far too often those two groups, you think that they would talk, but they don't talk a lot. And so we like to provide that bridge. And so it's a good program just in terms of giving fellows that overall perspective and within a reasonably short period of time. So in order to be a fellow, you have to be really, really, really flexible. We just did our first, or I just did my first ever webinar about 2 weeks ago about the program. And in it, I was telling potential applicants that one of the things you really have to think about is being very flexible, because most of us do not have 2 jobs in 11 months, because you're going to be working for 2 different organizations. You're going to have 2 different supervisors. You could potentially even have 2 very different policy areas that you're working on. So you could be working on, say, SNAP, which people still sometimes call food stamps. You could be working on that, say, in your field placement, but then when you come to Washington, D.C., you could actually be working on something in the child nutrition space or some other different space. So you just need to be really flexible and think about how you, I guess, how you want to, or where you want to end up when the fellowship is completed.
That's awesome. So say I'm a student and I'm like, I am flexible. This is something I'm passionate about. What would be, the application process?
Sure. So the application process, there is a web form. So if you go to the Hunger Center website, you can look for the application. I would ask that you actually, there's a application guide on the website too. So ask that you would read that, because we put a lot of work into that. We've updated it, but the application is right there. So the application is a web form. I believe there's 2 essays that you would write. They're not really long essays. There's no letter of recommendation that you have to submit with it. And so that is what you would do to apply for the program. The program, we take applications until January 11th next year. And then there's a whole interview process, which honestly, I've only been at the Hunger Center for 3 months. And so I'm currently looking at the review process for applications. And so there'll probably be some changes to it. There's a group interview, then there's one-on-one interviews, and we're figuring out the timing of when those are going to happen. And also when we get the applications, the Emerson program staff, so it's me and one other woman who run the entire program, we will review applications, but there's also Emerson alum reviewers who review the applications as well.
Very
And it's a very competitive program. So we get about 300 to 400 applications for basically between 19 to 22 spots.
Wow. Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
that's a tough choice for you.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. But I will say one of the amazing things, one of the things that, like I said, I've only been here for 3 months, but the alums from the program, they're very engaged. They really give back to the program, just not even in terms of being reviewers, but coming back and talking to the fellows about what professional opportunities exist after the fellowship. And I've been in DC for far too long, but I have learned a lot about the importance of having connections in a network. That's really important in terms of getting a job. I feel far too often we tell young people, it's what you know, it's actually who you know far more often. And this fellowship, I can tell you right off the bat, gives you a chance to just meet people across the board and, stay in contact with people, because you just never know who you meet, how that person can have an impact on your life, just in terms of not only providing you advice, but just opening other doors. So it's a great opportunity for someone who is interested in exploring the space of anti-hunger and anti-poverty policy. But if that's not necessarily where you see yourself down the road, that's fine. It just opens up a lot of different opportunities, and you also get some great leadership skills. And we could all use those, no matter where you are.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Tony. I really
Thank you.
appreciate you taking the time to chat with me today.
Thank you.
Lions, thank you so much for watching. I hope you will consider reaching out and learning more about this amazing opportunity.
Thank you. All right.